The wind howled across an empty sea, low, endless, alive. Somewhere in that whiteness a gull cried once, then vanished into fog. For hours, the ocean and the sky were the same color, frozen steel. May 1942. A U.S. weather station on the Aleutian chain sent its last clear signal. Then silence. The men inside thought it was just another storm. It wasn't. At the edge of America, where daylight fades faster than breath, war was arriving unseen. The Japanese fleet had turned north through the fog, toward islands most maps barely marked, Attu and Kiska, the westernmost steps of Alaska's chain, reaching almost to Japan itself. To Washington, they were remote coordinates. To the men stationed there, they were home, and now targets. Snow drifted over half-frozen gun barrels. Radios hissed with static thicker than the clouds above. No one could see the enemy, but everyone could feel him. In the tremor of the ground, in the quiet between gusts. They said the war would never reach America. They were wrong. It had come to the edge of the world, and the wind carried the proof. June 1942. While America fought for Midway, another fleet moved through a colder sea. The Japanese Navy had turned north, hidden by fog thick as smoke, toward the Aleutian Islands, stepping stones to Alaska, and from there, the Pacific coast. On June 3rd, bombs fell on Dutch Harbor, Alaska. Flames climbed into a sky that never fully darkened. For the first time since 1812, enemy aircraft had struck American soil. 2 days later, Japanese troops landed on Attu and Kiska, planting flags in snow and silence. In Washington, panic spread across war maps. Those dots at the top of the globe suddenly formed a bridge, a possible path to the mainland. If Japan built airfields there, their bombers could threaten Seattle, Portland, and even San Francisco. But nature was already at war with everyone. Wind tore the canvas off tents. Rain froze mid-fall. Mud swallowed boots and engines alike. The Aleutians punished all who entered. Inside the fog, engineers hammered at shifting earth, their breath turning to glass. Each strike rang dull, swallowed by the wind. Pilots waited in cockpits iced over from the inside, hearts beating louder than their radios. Then for a single moment, the storm eased. Men looked up, saw only gray, and listened to the sound of their own breathing, before the wind began again. America had entered a war without sound or sunlight, a front built from fog. And somewhere in that fog, the war waited to be seen. The first American reinforcements reached the Aleutians in early 1943. They came expecting battle and found isolation instead. Rolled in from the sea like a living thing, thick enough to hide mountains. Men vanished 10 yards away. Voices turned to echoes. Compasses spun. Maps became lies. Even the sun seemed to lose direction. Then realization set in. The enemy wasn't just another army. It was the land itself. The fog, the cold, the silence. All fighting harder than bullets ever could. At Adak and Amchitka, engineers built airfields on swamps that froze by night and melted by day. Piles sank. Machinery cracked. A single gust could carry a man off the ridge. Every hammer strike came back like a heartbeat muffled by distance. Soldiers learned to measure survival by sound, the rattle of gear, the hiss of lanterns, the breathing inside frozen masks. They weren't advancing anymore. They were enduring. Then came the order. Retake Attu. They looked into that endless fog and knew what it meant. A fight against an enemy they might never even see. May 11th, 1943, Attu Island. The invasion began before sunrise, though the sky never brightened. Landing craft scraped the shore, metal groaning against rock. Marines stepped out into water so cold it burned through their boots. Behind them, destroyers fired blindly into the mist. Flashes swallowed before they reached the clouds. No one could see 20 feet ahead. Officers shouted. The wind answered. Some men followed voices that weren't there. Others followed the sound of gunfire until it stopped. By nightfall, the beach was mud and silence. Frost clung to rifles. The wounded whispered for morphine. The living whispered so the fog would not hear them. For 19 days, Attu was a ghost war. Artillery thundered from ridges no one could find. Japanese snipers fired from burrows beneath the snow. When Americans returned fire, the bullets vanished into white. A corporal wrote in his diary, "We fight the weather more than the men." The fog moves faster than orders. He wasn't wrong. Every ridge taken by morning was lost again by night, reclaimed by exhaustion, frost, and doubt. Then before dawn on May 29th, the fog grew quiet. Men noticed it, the way silence feels heavier than sound. Then came the banzai charge. 500 Japanese soldiers broke from the hills, screaming through the mist. Bayonets first, voices last. It wasn't strategy. It was surrender turned inside out. When it was over, the snow was red and the island was silent again. Attu had been taken, but it looked unchanged. A white battlefield pretending nothing had happened. June 1943. The fog lifted, revealing what no one could call victory. The last Japanese defenders were gone, most by their own hand. Bodies lay half buried in snow, rifles frozen upright beside them. The island was won, but it felt untouched, as if the war itself had been erased by the weather. Half the casualties had come not from bullets, but from the cold, frostbite, trench foot, exhaustion. The battle had drained the strength of everyone who survived. When news reached Washington, the announcement was brief. 2 sentences, no ceremony. The Aleutians had been reclaimed. But for those who fought there, it wasn't a victory. It was a warning about what war could take, even when you won. Engineers returned to rebuild airstrips the storms would destroy again. Pilots flew through clouds that never cleared. Each flight a gamble, each landing a prayer. When Kiska was retaken in August, the Japanese had already fled. The Americans landed expecting fire, and found only footprints, empty trenches, and a note. "We depart for home. Do not forget this place." They didn't forget. Not right away. But the rest of the world did. The men of Attu carried their silence home with them, a silence too deep for celebration. Victory had been real, but so was the cost. The war moved on, to Europe, to the Pacific, to names history could pronounce. The Aleutians vanished beneath the fog again, hidden in their own silence. Today the bunkers still stand. Rust spreads like memory. The wind moves through empty tunnels built for men who never returned. Each winter snow buries the airstrips. Each spring the sea uncovers them, as if the earth refuses to forget. The few who fought here aged quietly. When they spoke of it, their voices softened. They said the cold never left their bones, or their dreams. To them, the Aleutians were not coordinates. They were proof that even the edge of the world could bleed. Historians called it the forgotten front. But those who served remembered every sound, the fog, the silence, the moment when victory and loss became the same thing. On Attu's ridge, the flag still rises each morning. No crowds gather. No bands play. Only the wind salutes. And in its breath you can still hear the men who once stood there waiting for the fog to lift.